People often ask me about my perceptions from the year covering racial justice protests from coast to coast. I realized that in this country, people of color, no matter how humble or taciturn he or she is, need to conquer the fear to speak fiercely in public. Maybe because his or her family member was a victim of injustice and cannot speak for themselves anymore. Two interviews I conducted illustrate this view. One is with Mr. Jacob Blake Sr., whose son Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back by a police officer in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He is a gentleman in his late 50s, shuffling when he walks, but who could imagine an older man like him, probably without any professional public speaking experience, could lead a group of thousands of protesters in order to fight for the justice of his own son. I could tell Mr. Blake tried hard to be calm and make himself clear, breathing heavily between each sentence. Another interview was with a Latino Chicagoan whose name is Eric Vega, whose brother Miguel Vega was shot dead by police officer near Labor Day last year. The Chicago Police Department claims that he was involved in what police called a shootout, with officers claiming he had a gun. But his family was questioning that and the actions officer took in the moments following his shooting. Eric Vega, a shy young man in his early 20s, had to come forward, even in front of armed police officer, to call for justice on behalf of his family, which was devastated by the bullets from the policeman's gun. Eric was obviously nervous and helpless, but he had to do that. When we talk about racial injustice in the United States, the first name spoken is typically Martin Luther King, a legend living between pages of history books all around the world. His voice was so powerful and brave. Last summer, I visited the motel in Memphis where Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. I realized that decades later, not very much has changed. Dr. King was dead, but there are people like him in every corner of this country. Most don't have the strong voice and are not as photogenic as he was, but they're out there. For me, this is very sad. I don't think a democratic world should be this way, where people of color in any moment have to force themselves to become a public speaker.